Bike and Pedestrian Committee meeting on September 18th, 6:30. Hi.
Hi.
One, two. I think everybody's here except Anya. Anya's not on. Santina, is that you? I never know. Is that a member of the public?
Someone is on.
203 the call-in.
They're on mute. The 203.
No, I think
I cannot.
Bottom.
the bottom one, I thought that was us, because when you took us off mute, then they could start hearing us.
No, we're in the camera.
We're in the, yeah. So there's a caller.
Well, all right. Okay. Okay, we're just gonna start with a motion to approve the minutes from August 21st.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Second.
Okay. Does anybody have any comments or questions on the minutes? All in favor of approving?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None? Next up, we have public comment. So if the person on the line is a member of the public and you'd like to speak, let us know. Hearing nothing. Mary, do you want to give us a sustainability forestry update?
I'll give it a shot. We've got a lot of volunteers from Sacred Heart, and I'm kind of surprised at how many people we got. So I think they're kind of done. They present at the beginning of their semester, so it might be something like we've got 4 women helping us with PR, a couple of just general helping. One wants to get into schools and work with, do presentation to kids. And believe it or not, I presented to an American foreign policy course. So it had nothing to do with, sustainability, but there's certain courses they're requiring 15 hours of community service with a local nonprofit. And they're trying to get that, they're sort of doing it with a few classes, and then they're trying to get it included into all their classes. So it might be, if you have like a campaign that is a semester worthy kind of thing, that might be something you might consider, and I can put you in contact with those folks. So just wanted to.
Yeah, that is cool.
So we finished our fall planting orders. We're finding that for some reason we get more orders for people on the line side of the street than an online side of the street. So we have to figure out why that's happening, which means we're only planting short trees because that way they won't grow in the wires. So it's just a little odd that it's like 2 to 1, and it has been for years. So the other thing is we have new line of sight requirements because of the Vision Zero, I guess. So we have to be farther back from driveways and corners. So we are abiding by that. So we're planting less trees because of that.
Mary, how do you guys advertise? Like I know like people with the tree planting program, a lot of it's kind of, I feel like, word of mouth, and I know you guys promote it on social media, like the news, like things like that. But I guess do you guys do any grassroots stuff to get the people that are on the side of the street without the utility poles? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know how to do. Honestly, it is by word of mouth. We put the gator bags on, and then people call and say, "I saw it on my, that green bag, and I want one too," or my neighbor got it. We early on got on Moms of Fairfield, and it took us a year and a half to dig through all the requests that we got. We had so many that we were overrun.
Yeah.
So we actually have been not trying to promote it because we weren't able to keep up, and we were always a season plus behind. But we do get a lot of people that cannot get trees for whatever reason. They just don't have the amount of frontage, or there's too many, like a hydrant or other things in the way. So we probably do want to start promoting again. But but promoting goes to both sides of the streets. I mean, it's a
Yeah.
50-50 chance that you got lines on your street. I don't know why we're double the amount of people on the line side, so it's just odd. Um, and we have been now getting orders so that they pay in advance, a season, I believe. So we've had no problem filling, getting trees. It's just that the taller shade trees are so much better for the environment
Well,
in so many ways.
I was just thinking, like we just had survey work, like right away studies done on Reading Road, Mill Plain, Sturgis. Like, I don't know what kind of level of details in those right now, but as kind of designs move forward, I would think that it would include stuff like where the utilities are and where trees are. And I wonder if there's a way to kind of plug into that for the forestry committee to then kind of go to those residents and say, hey, like as part of this, you know, there's changes coming to your road and maybe it's time you think of putting trees in the town right away. I don't know.
Yeah, we have been looking at those plans, so I'm sorry. Is someone gonna say something?
I don't think so.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, and that is a good idea. We should probably target, we do target areas, so we often try to target, we over at Tungus and places that don't have a lot of canopy. So we do try to target places at certain times, so that might be a good thing to do. So we'll keep that in mind. In terms of sustainable Fairfield related to bike ped, I'm trying to think. We are working with several churches in town for different reasons. And if there's any reason that you would like us to add in our messaging, anything about what your work is, we can include some slides or we can invite you to come with us. We just presented to St. Anthony's of Padua. They have a lot of the churches now have eco committees or even equity committees. And so we have a list of 5 different denominations that we're actively coordinating efforts with. And I just sent that list somewhere so I can dig it up. But if that's helpful to get the word out through them, I'm happy to, collaborate with you on that.
Yeah, I think that could be interesting.
But in terms of our work related to bike ped, I mean, we're doing a lot of energy and kind of other stuff, so you don't need to hear about that.
Not tonight, but maybe another time.
Yeah, you can read our minutes, whatever, or even composting, all that kind of stuff. You don't need to know.
Excellent, thank you.
Sure, thank you.
Actually, I have a question. I'm not sure if it makes sense or if it will relate to us, but as you're thinking about this, I know that there are some communities that are putting together EV plans and like where to locate charging stations. And is Fairfield doing? I haven't seen anything, but that doesn't mean anything. Like I just may not be seeing it.
I don't know of any plans, Mary.
No, I mean, Daphne Dixon is our transportation committee chair. She's also the Southwest Regional Director for Clean Cities. And she has been trying to work with the town on a lot of related to that, and they don't sign up. So I don't know what to tell you. We're hoping once the POCD gets passed, there's some regulations that we would like to suggest related to including EV charging in especially multifamily housing. Fairfield has won awards for having the most charging in a town in the state of Connecticut. So it's not like, oh my goodness, we're lacking for charging infrastructure. But it would be nice if people could charge at home if they're building a multifamily home or apartments. Yeah.
Yeah, make it a more desirable option. I was just thinking about, as with the tree planting, knowing if there were plans for putting in charging stations in certain places. Would that? I'm getting ahead of myself.
Yeah, I mean, we don't, that would be something that the town would probably do there. I mean, we've talked about suggesting, we try and put them whenever we have, solar canopies. We try and include them in there. We did, re-up with first student, so hopefully we will be able to use that, I think it's a 10 million, 12 million, I'm not sure, federal grant to buy 10 EV buses, school buses, and we will then also need to put in the infrastructure. But again, that probably, just like at the town at Sullivan, it's only for town cars. So I think the whole market needs to be figured out because people complain that, why should you be able to charge fuel your car for free? There should be some way to have someone pay for that. So.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Mhm.
May I add something, Mary?
Sure.
Or just, I guess, quickly, if you're talking about community outreach and volunteering, it might be nice as certain parts of the Greenway come in that we could have people volunteer to basically help build it. We've talked about Eagle Scout projects, et cetera, as one potential model, but for other purposes, if people need volunteering hours, that would also work, at least in theory.
Mm-hmm. We do
And
have
then
retirees that, we've worked with for pollinator pathway garden cleanup. So, so there are other groups.
yeah, and then because I know you had mentioned that you were saying like Sacred Heart students were a group as well. And then as another thing in terms of community outreach, I'd mentioned this to Bike and Ped Committee at their August 18th meeting, but or their August 21st meeting. But also the Conservation Department was a little upset at one of their most recent meetings back in August because they found out that the RTM actually denied their 50,000 supplementary proposal for trails by Villa Ave because the community, surrounding community hadn't been informed and basically a draft plan had not been put out when the money was supposed to be given for a draft plan. So one of the things that I had been doing for the Greenway was basically developing even more of a draft plan so that people see that there's at least some decent thought put into this. But then also, I think it's more important than ever to really get in touch with pretty much every organization we can in town just to make sure everyone knows before it goes up for grant funding and RTM votes.
I think it was actually 500,000. So I was told even worse.
I heard it was a 350,000 grant with like a 20% match, or I guess 250, 20%, 50,000. Yeah.
That was a surprise for sure.
Okay, all right, let's just, I'm gonna give some engineering updates and Santina is not on the line, I don't think, so. I'm just gonna go into the chair report. I feel like there's a few, the big item is the Safe Streets for All grant has finally been released by the federal government. This is very, very exciting. It was on the Board of Selectmen agenda today and Bill informed me that it did get approved, so that will get signed and sent back to the federal government. Unfortunately, the contract for the consultant was not ready for this week's Board of Selectmen meeting. However, it will go on the next Board of Selectmen meeting. Hopefully that will get approved and then we'll be able to start work on all of that, which is really exciting. We will need definitely the committee involved in when the community meetings get scheduled. So I believe there are 10 meetings in the contract, if I remember correctly. So the idea originally was to kind of go by district. I don't know if that's how it will go or not, but that was the idea. So it would be great to have representation at those meetings from the committee just so we can hear and give feedback as well. So more information will be forthcoming once the consultants are able to kind of kick off the work, which they should be able to do the second the Board of Selectmen approves the consulting contract.
When is the next meeting? Is it next month?
It's the October 1st meeting, so 2
So
weeks.
2 weeks. Thank you.
The Fairfield Safe Streets Alliance is still putting content out. We haven't met in a few weeks, so I don't have any updates on that. Anya, I think at our next meeting that she can attend is gonna give an update kind of on the survey results that we did at the beginning of the campaign. The idea is we'll run a survey once we kind of end the campaign to kind of see if there's any changes in perspectives or views. I think that's it for me. Sandy, do you want to give a brief update on the complete streets policy?
Yeah, so Adrian and Sarah and I and Amy have been working together to get it to the finish line. And it's a process, and it's taken a few phone calls, and I think we may have one more, I think, and we should be able to get it wrapped up and put into something that we can, a format we can distribute to everyone to look over and hopefully get it done.
And then we'll have to work with town representatives
Right.
as the next step to kind of get their thoughts.
Once it's out of our committee.
Yeah, it will be an evolving document for a while still, I think. But again, if anybody wants to take a look at that, you're welcome to look at it now as it's, as we're going through it. Just let me know.
Good.
That link-
Okay, so good
Yeah.
for like internal comments
Yeah.
at this moment? Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
you guys,
Good.
you're welcome to read it, and it's kind of messy right now as we've been
Okay.
kind of workshopping it, but you're welcome to, I think,
That link will show live updates,
yeah,
right?
so I think Amy sent it out with the August meeting agenda. That link should be live, so if you don't see it really messy, let us know.
Okay.
And you can put some comments directly in there, or
Okay.
you can, send them to us separately, whatever. Okay. Alex, do you wanna give a brief update on the Greenway?
Yeah, so, we met, the three of us here, to discuss, like, just picking back up on the Greenway. I reached out to Andrea about the DEEP grant, just to see,
I'm sorry, who's Andrea?
she's the grant
She's the grants
coordinator.
manager.
Yeah, for the town. So Sarah had suggested that I reach out to her to make sure that, that there weren't any other town committees or going for deep grant money. So I reached out to her. She kind of coordinated a meeting with Tim Bishop, which is going to take place tomorrow. And Francisco, Mike, and I got together and talked about a strategy for how we wanted to approach that meeting. The goal of the meeting is to kind of take some of the work that Joe put together with the north-south walking trail, kind of like, and just talk with him about it in a way of like, hey, how does this align with conservation's initiatives? How might we partner together on this? And just kind of walk him through and just listen to, and also my hope is that he'll share his experience with that Villa Avenue thing, and so that we can, do this the right way. So that meeting is taking place tomorrow. It was supposed to happen earlier this week. So again, the goal is to kind of like get conservation on board, and then, kind of like partner with them to figure out an approach to getting a grant. And just hopefully see if Tim Bishop and conservation are on board with this.
Just as a side note to that, because I live on Villa, so everybody knows. I mean, I went to all those meetings, and I think the biggest issue was just the meetings happened kind of late, and I think the residents felt like, and I mean, maybe I knew about it because I'm just more involved, but despite efforts to get information out there, people felt like they didn't know what the plan really was. And I will say from the first meeting that I attended, when they talked about it, it was still like in such general, like nebulous terms that they couldn't answer specific questions, and that got everyone, and I honestly think that's why Amy reneged on giving the easement, because they literally had like a little bubble drawn around a patch of trees. And
So it wasn't like in any way like specific or.
oh, absolutely not. And they're like, well, how big of an area is it? It's like, well, it's that area over there. Well, how many trees is it? Well, it's just however many trees are in that area. And like, and when they couldn't answer like specific questions, people got really,
Did they already have the grant money at that point with that meeting?
I think so. Because that's when the town needed that easement to build the retention pond. And so when that got pulled, that's when everything went back to the drawing board. So my only piece of advice would be, right, like Joe's, I was looking at the one picture, right? Like what he presented to us, like that was so nice. It was so detailed and it had a lot of information on it. And so I would just be prepared with like that kind of level of
Yeah, we're not there yet.
That presentation is a starting point.
Yes, so
Yeah.
the presentation was, so Joe, we're using a portion of your presentation for the meeting with Tim tomorrow. And, you know, one other thing to your point, Amy, is that one of the other things, and maybe this will probably be new business, but, you know, Mike, Francisco, and I talked about what can we do as a committee, like outside of these rooms, like, you know, Saturday morning, you know, 8:30 a.m., we could go walk a segment of this trail. And this is something I had said to Joe as well, is like, and then invite the public along, like, so that it doesn't end up it doesn't live at just a meeting at, you know, 7:30 or 8:30 or at night. Like, bring the public along, you know, invite people to walk, invite the RTM if they want to come, you know, like get everybody on board. And so there's no nebulous like, oh, I think it's, you know, whatever trees are here, like people will have been, you know, who care will have been out to see it.
You're talking about that,
walk it.
and I'm thinking about the, I can't remember the name of the group from New Haven, but the one that did like the transit audits, right, where they invited the public.
Yes.
And I think from a complete streets perspective, like with everything we did on Villa Avenue, my neighbor Janine was all over the RTM, and like, I can't believe how many RTM members came and walked our neighborhood.
That's the difference right there.
And so, because it was RTM members that weren't even from our district, and they came and they saw the challenges that we were facing, and that really helped get everyone on board. And if you do things like that, if I can't make it, right, take pictures, send it to me, right? I can post it on the Instagram. Not that we have like 1 million followers, but I also post a lot of our stuff on Moms of Fairfield,
Right. That's great.
right? And which has somehow gotten me top contributor status.
You had that already.
I'm up there at the top, right? But, you know, so when
It's got a little star.
May I add some comments?
Please.
Yeah, hey, thank you so much. Again, seriously, it's been my pleasure this whole time. And again, in the little bit of free time I've had here at med school, been really, really working hard to improve, you know, exactly what you're saying was exactly my concern at this point, was that I think a lot of times, again, speaking still as someone a town resident, not officially affiliated with any branch of government, sometimes things kind of do happen behind the hood, and then people are like, wait, what happened? I guess I'll even say I was a little surprised. This is my first time hearing about the meeting tomorrow with Tim Bishop. You know, I've been trying to email him as well and say, hey, you know, even though the sections of the Greenway through the open spaces are kind of by definition the most complete because they pretty much all have trails already, there will still be a few bridges that need to be built. There's signage that needs to go in. And so there's certainly a lot of cooperation that needs to happen with him and his department, and of course, protection of the ecology, which I am certainly very passionate about. I have the most observations on iNaturalist within the town of Fairfield. I've observed like 600 basically photos or instances of wildlife. So it's something that I do while running. And I think it's a great way to really merge the energies of the committees and get people both involved in recreation and nature. But I guess my first thing would be, if there's any way I could be a part of that meeting, that would be incredible. I'd be very honored, and I certainly think that I would have a few things to say to sort of help merge the interests, as I've been to both meetings for quite a few months now, both you guys every month and them, to sort of really figure out exactly where this is going. And then the second thing, if at all possible here, is I would like to share the maps that I've been working on to show just how detailed, I'm making this, so that even before any town money has been spent, you have a clear map of exactly where this thing is going, with a potentially immediately signed route, the goal, property ownership along different sections. I know parking was a big concern, so I indicated all the various areas that parking exists in each of these sections, the open spaces that it would go through, other lots owned by like cemeteries and private properties, the Audubon in blue, and then all the way down to Serenity Path here, which was a subject of meeting before. But, essentially, I think if the RTM sees something like this and they know there's an exact plan put in place already, and then, consultants are just going to come through and refine something like this, I think it will have much stronger legs. And I feel like a little bit I've been kind of working in the dark, because I haven't heard too much about the exact collaboration between you guys, but I'm certainly very happy to hear that there is a meeting.
Joe, if you can, I don't think I have that. So if you can,
Yeah.
that version, if you can send that, that would be good. My gut says not to have you at that meeting tomorrow, because there is no collaboration yet with conservation, and conservation is I think before RTM or anything else, that is the starting point for this. And
Well,
just
Can I just
Yeah.
interject for 1 second? So grants in general at the town level are moving toward this collaboration model between committees and town departments, which is what Andrea said in the email to us about wanting to meet with Tim. Like, the natural spot would be conservation department would kind of be the natural spot to have this project and this grant. And so just want to interject that that's why this meeting is kind of happening, to just start kind of the conversation. And, if there's not buy-in from conservation, then
Right.
we can't really, it's
Yeah.
kind of done. So
Yeah.
not to be crap. I just, to set expectations, like we have to have buy-in from the town. And so that's what the meeting tomorrow is, to kind of start the conversation. I think there will probably be multiple rounds.
Yeah, this is, that's my impression too, is just to kind of hey, how does this align with what you guys are doing? And talk about the possibility of, if it's oh yeah, this sounds good, and yeah, this would be a good candidate for, grant money, then we can take it to the next step. But this is just an introductory, inter kind of committee discussion.
Okay, yeah, I guess my only concern would be, as somebody who drew up the exact alignment street by street, let's say in particular, that there is one section that they don't like or something, that specific area is too ecologically sensitive, because I know, for example, they're doing an inventory of the open spaces right now. And, since I'm not on that department, and I'm not somebody actively working on that report, I can't see that. So if they just discovered something like yesterday, where there's a threatened species in one spot, and then my greenway accidentally goes on there, I don't want it to be thrown out because of that one thing. I would hope that if I was there.
From that right now.
Yeah.
We're so far from that. This is conceptually at a high level. What do you think?
Yeah, and can you support this?
Yes, and okay, no, because of this. Okay, well then, what if we did that?
And if we start to get in the weeds on
We
something
don't
like
wanna
that,
go
which
in
I
the
don't
weeds.
think we will.
We're not
Just-
going in the weeds. It's a high level. What do you think? Is this something you can get behind? Yes or no, and why? How might we proceed? What are the hurdles that you see?
Right.
It's that. we're not, and this greenway is like whatever, all the work that you've done, Joe, is great, but it may change in 10 different ways, and that's not
Yeah.
what this is about. This is about, like, this is our vision as a committee, which happened to align with work that you were doing independently. So, like, that's the perspective we're going from, is like, this is what we want to do, and does this align with what you have in mind? And I will, put forth notes and kind of reactions and make sure that everyone is informed about kind of like how that meeting went, pros, cons, and next steps.
I guess, will there at least be like some, like how they have minutes for a typical public meeting, are there at least ways that the public can sort of know what happened, or at least that, for example, I could then, for any particular proposal that I'm working on semi in collaboration with you guys, like actually adapt that, to ensure that I'm not
What's that?
doing something that is kind of already dead in the water.
Well,
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
we will inform back through this committee.
so Mike, you're attending. So Mike and I will be at the meeting tomorrow, and we will report back to the committee. We will then report back at the next meeting, and I'm happy to just give you some impressions from the meeting as well, because I know that you've been obviously, you're passionate about that, and I want to keep you in the loop, but that's formally how it'll happen. Mike and I will be there, we'll take notes, and those notes will make it back to the committee, and I'll keep you abreast of how it went.
It's fantastic that you put all the work that you've done in there, all those details so well thought out. But it's like you're building an aircraft, you've built an aircraft designed an aircraft there. We need to make sure that there's a Air Force that wants to buy it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, happy to keep you, and again, all tremendous appreciation for what you've done so far.
Yeah, because again, I just wanted to make sure that this time there actually was a plan, so that we don't get to the stage of, hey, is there something going on here? You're like, town, can you fund this? And then, people to go, oh, we haven't thought of this yet because the grant money is just to get a planner. Like, I think a lot of times now, from the perspective of the general public, people want to see like, oh, well, has this been thought out to a pretty well extent? And, this is at least an attempt to say, here's an idea. Of course it may change. I'm not going to say that this is exactly how it has to be. It could change a lot, and I'd still be very happy with it. I just, the general idea, I guess, that I'm going for as well, if we're speaking at that broad level, is from your guys' perspective, I think there's certainly an understanding that Fairfield should have more ways to move around than just by car, and people should, especially at major intersections spots like the Post Road, the Merritt, et cetera, there should be safe ways for bikes and pedestrians to cross. And for the open spaces, Fairfield, I think I presented this, on my last day in town. Fairfield has like 59 open spaces, and all but one of them have negligible search volume when you look it up on Google. Only Lake Mohegan is really known by people in town who aren't specifically on committees. And I think that's a huge detriment, honestly, to their existence, because it would encourage local pride over them, and maintaining appropriate trails actually could have benefits for wildlife research and controlling invasive species populations. So I think that's the buy-in from conservation.
Okay, great. Thanks, Joe. Does anybody on the committee have any other questions or comments on the Greenway? Adrian?
When it's appropriate, the firm I work for does public engagement. That's what I do. So I'm happy to contribute my thoughts. And, I'm not saying that I want to dictate what it should be, but I can provide some thoughts about different ways we can go about.
Remind us as we get closer. So
Yeah, I think it's
very
premature at this stage, but.
I love that idea.
Yeah.
But I just do want to repeat what you had said before, Amy, that if you starting public engagement very early on, like at the beginning of the project, at the 0% is where you want to do it, because you want to get that buy-in, and you can have a fact sheet that is available that is linked to the town website. You can have a web page on the town website that takes people to find other information, there are all sorts of things you can do. Walking tours are great.
Make sure to send me that thing, please, Joe. Because that might be something, to Amy, that we end up putting, I think it would be a good resource to have, and we can figure out how we want to share it out.
Yeah, absolutely. I can certainly try to add more text at varying times, but I'm trying to throw it all together on my own as well. So, no, I want to say I really do thank you guys as well, though, for being so receptive. It's and especially you, Alex, because I know you had pretty much the same exact idea, and I'm sure that one day there will be a bike portion as well, because I think that as well is truly a great idea. It's just this is kind of that first. I was thinking it was the first thing to win over conservation, because at least this one, going through the open spaces and doing pedestrian first is more on town controlled land, and that would just simplify the process. But even otherwise, there'd be sections like the Hoydens Hill right away where, that's not in the jurisdiction of the Conservation Department. That would be, I guess, Department of Public Works or Engineering technically. So, there are other ways that we could make progress, at least in the short term. I think that as well could convince people, that, oh, this whole thing is worthwhile, actually.
Hey, Joe, what you just showed us, how much has that changed since you sent a version of that to us earlier this summer?
The exact route is very, very similar. I just started breaking it down section by section because I know it's so information dense across the entire town that if you actually try to zoom out and not have the greenway be a physical, like the line width be large enough that it just blocks everything that you're trying to see, then it's really hard to actually see the greenway because it's so tiny. So instead, going section by section, I can share again here. Back to this screen. At this zoomed out level, it's kind of hard to see where the greenway itself actually is, when you're looking at the entire town scale. But then at least here, when you scroll down, I've added in information about parking, etc., so you can actually see. But again, the idea is that, the immediate greenway signage is a route that could pretty feasibly be signed right now. Again, this route would have more time on roads, etc., and then this green or white with the little green dots inside of it is a future ideal route, which, this white section up here, that is the Hoydens Hill right away. So conservation only has jurisdiction over the yellow sections. Something in here, this is a town-owned right away in between aquarium land and state forest land. Then, down through here, for example, would run by land by the Lake Hills Association, as is the case a little bit over here. And then these little gray lots are private property, which in theory, via planning and zoning, could be split off, and then, at least hypothetically, it should be given to the Conservation Department, because especially, for the ones down here off of like Dudley Drive, they are really just wetlands in the back and undevelopable anyway. They recently approved a similar land transaction at like 785 Oldfield Road. So there is precedent for doing this. And then, this just continues throughout the entire town. This section is the Braun parcel, which is 14 acres, mostly wetlands again. This is a bridge that would have to cross right by the new Fairfield Environmental Educational Field Station. They call it Thieves. But, this would safely allow kids from Riverfield to walk all the way to the field station instead of having to be bused or walk along the road and risk getting hit by a car. So in the same way, this alignment actually goes by 185 Thorpe Street, and there's already a conservation easement on place on this lot here, and then linking to an existing trail stub that goes out to an osprey watching nest. This is another spot where you would take the greenway off the post road entirely and just only have it intersect. I think it's a slam dunk project too, because it also goes by a train station, and how many proposed greenways are really going to have that? Very few. And last comes to least, we actually I was on the call with conservation last night, and we just resolved some of the discussion around Serenity Path. And luckily, one of the really exciting things was that, this is a section of trail that was actually unauthorized according to the Conservation Department, but actually at the recent meeting was just kind of grandfathered into the trail system for the most part, which was really exciting to see. That I had worked a lot with them specifically on why this section was necessary for the greenway, and then a way to both make it more streamlined with the potential route and not continue the private access that was prohibitive for the town. And that went pretty well with them, where they took that suggestion and mentioned to me that we do keep in mind that you want to extend this from the beach to Easton. So there's at least some interest already there.
Again, Joe, thanks for all that detail. Let's we'll hold that in our minds there, and it's great if the question comes up, hey, we've got this thought out to a very detailed degree. It's super open for revision, discussion.
Yeah, of course. In
case anybody's, we have that in our back pocket. You've also answered one of the questions we brought up the other day. He has a name for this, which is
I like it. The Harvard.
That was actually given by the Parks and Rec Department. Again, I'll give them full credit.
Yeah, I think that was
at that meeting.
Oh,
yeah.
Well then, fantastic.
Yeah. No, but it shows there's buy-in from other.
Everybody's saying they like that name.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. We
Thanks.
appreciate it.
Yeah, and I can write that all up to you as well if you need those specific details, because conservation looked at Serenity Path, and then they were kind of like, we did our job with that, and I was like, but there's a couple more specific things that have to happen.
Yeah, I think if Alex needs something, you guys can connect on that. All right, excellent. Okay, new business. Alex, did you have anything else you wanted to?
Yes, I think what came up in our small group discussion was the idea of hosting regular walks or activities that we as a committee could do that would allow us to spend more time together and also go out, start walking, for instance, a portion of this trail, organize a bike ride, and invite the public along, post on social media. And maybe this could be 2 times a month or something, or once, whatever it starts out to be. But that's the general concept. And I don't know if you have anything you want to add.
Yeah, I just wanted us to do what we're talking about, basically.
No, I think it's
really
great.
get, and it could be walking parts of that idea or walking anything,
Yeah. I think too, we have, Mill Plain, Sturgis, Reading Road, these roads are gonna start to get attention from the town for, complete streets, traffic calming. And so that makes sense. And then Adrian and I have talked before about, as we kind of know where, since we're still in this in-between before we have this planning grant that kind of is gonna dictate a lot of this stuff, is as roads are getting paved, they're supposed to be evaluated for complete streets. So once we know what the spring paving list is gonna be, actually going out there and seeing what the roads are like. Yeah. But I love the idea too of bike rides. I think that would be awesome. Have you guys seen Sustainable Streets Norwalk? I think has done a few of those. They'll go from coffee shop to coffee shop, or so something like that. So you check out on their Instagram if it gives you. I think it's Sustainable Streets Norwalk. So they've done a couple things like that. But yeah, happy to support anything like that on social media. We can also try and get it in the town newsletter if you wanted to publicize it there.
Yeah.
So just let us know.
I think so. I'd love to kind of come up with maybe a cadence for this, because I don't want to just leave it.
We're getting into kind of cold months now too.
We are. So we don't have a lot of time here.
Yeah, it's
Hike
getting.
you around.
Yeah, I do too. That's true.
So anyway, I don't know what, Francisco, we were talking, I brought up a Saturday.
Yeah,
This was Francisco's idea, by the way, just to give proper credit here.
I mean, at least starting once a month, just so it's not a lot of pressure, you know, maybe it's in between our meetings, so it's also a good opportunity for us to see each other outside of this environment, and invite, people from the public, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then see where it goes.
I'd say just pick a date.
Okay.
Let us know what the plan
route
is,
is.
what the route is, and we'll put it out there.
Is that what do you think is? I mean, Saturday mornings, is that the best? Right. Okay, 8 a.m., something like
8
that.
a.m.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Something
would-
so that it doesn't interfere,
Exactly.
like it's not a
Yeah, because
commitment that
with
would.
soccer and all
all
that
the
stuff. Yeah, and not too early. That
This is my rant on that earlier.
I was there. I was right here before.
I mean, I think there are probably a lot of running groups, but,
Yeah,
you know,
but that's-
running is
but that's-
another.
but running is
Those people are
different.
crazy.
Like, yeah.
Who runs
running-
for fun?
Joe?
Talking about like walking, so like.
But I think walking is, because you can have a conversation, so maybe we start with walking.
Yeah, I think walking.
Walking.
Yeah,
And
and
we can have,
and
like,
there are
from-
fewer safety.
Like I want to
issues.
bring like my kids, they're 6 and 8, and bring all the way to whatever.
And maybe we could, I'm thinking aloud and picking up on what Joe has been showing us, but
Yeah.
maybe it's an opportunity to explore the different, natural areas of
Okay.
Fairfield that a lot of us are not so familiar with.
Yeah.
So it's it's hard to oh, I should do that. And then, oh yeah, I was gonna do that.
All right, so here it is. Joe, back to you. But you have 30 seconds or less to answer this question.
Okay.
Where do we start? What is the most complete section that we can walk from 8 to 9 in the morning?
I mean, the most complete section is Lake Mohegan. Either that or the Frank Rice Trail.
Not
and Salt.
that one.
We all know that one. What would
Okay.
be another section you would suggest?
Other good section, Frank Rice Trail and the Salt Marsh normally. I just realized I was saying that the tidal gates are being rebuilt, so that might not be perfect right now. Otherwise, you have the options of Hoyden's Hill open space at the top of town. You have the options of Springer Glen open space, pretty much right in the geographic center.
What is
Other-
it? I'm sorry,
Springer-
Gordon's Hill
it's-
and then what?
Springer
Springer
It's right-
Glen.
It's right off
that's
of Mill
right.
Plain.
Yeah,
That's a good
exactly.
one. You can do a Girl Scout letterbox tour there too.
And then Mountain Laurel is another good one.
Oh, that is a good one.
Yeah. I mean, because not only does it go by a train station, but oh my god, it has 2 miles of coastal marsh trails. It has 2 large freshwater lakes on it. It has cliffs.
That's
Stamp
it.
Border and Mount Laurel.
We got
Yeah.
it. Hold on. Now back to Francisco. Francisco.
I mean, you got those names because I don't know
All right,
all
we
those.
got.
Yeah, we
my
got-
Yeah,
voice
send,
would be-
send, send me those names and I'll.
We got Hoyden's Hill, Springer Glen, or Mountain Laurel.
What was the fourth one though, by the train station?
Doesn't matter. I forgot it, so it's off the list. Pick from those 3. Your choice.
Frank
Send me
Rice
those-
Trail, but they're doing work.
That's the Salt Marsh.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
salt marsh is getting work done. So
I think that was the
thank
fourth.
you, Joe. This is good. You're
Right.
inspiring action here.
All right, any
Thank you.
other new business from the committee?
No.
Okay. Motion to adjourn?
Yeah, I guess just the final thing to Alex. Do you want me to just send you like a 1-page why the Greenway at all kind of thing?
You can. I love it. I get the reason. If you want to, if you have something prepared and you don't have to do that work, I get it. So you don't need to do that. I would like what you showed on the screen because that's a much better visual representation than what was previously in your slide decks.
Yes.
Because
Okay.
it's more outstanding. So that would be super useful.
Okay. If you think of anything else, send me an email.
Okay. Awesome.
Right.
Thank
Thank
you.
All right. I think we're adjourned.
Good night.
Okay, we are.
Anyone opposed?
Oh yeah. No, we're not opposed.
All right.
Not opposed.
All right, thanks everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.